episode, I want us to talk about shame and guilt and how these two affect us in our daily life. Shame and guilt. Where do these things even come from? Why would you sometimes be like, how can I do that? How could he do that? Why did I do this? So to start with, shame is towards self, but guilt is towards others. You feel guilty for not calling back. You feel guilty for not saying thank you. You feel guilty for them, but you are ashamed for you. I'm ashamed that I'm looking this way. I'm ashamed because I feel this way. I'm ashamed because of this. I'm ashamed because of that. I'm ashamed because of. So shame is more of within, while guilt is more about them. Let me give you a typical example of, let's start with shame. So where is shame developing from? Again, during the formative years, that is between the ages of 0 to 7 years, we have different kinds of body types. We have different types of shoes. We have different kinds of personalities. We differ from one thing to the other. We're very different from in one way or the other. So me being a short girl and you being a tall boy doesn't make us so different, but instead it makes you special in your tallness. It makes me special in my shortness. So while growing up at that point, at that age, and then your parents or your siblings or your aunts or whoever is in school calls you, look at that short girl. Look at that plumpy girl. They call you names. Then you start becoming ashamed of the plumpiness. You start becoming ashamed of your physique, of your look, of everything. So as you continued growing up, you realize that you are afraid of this tall person that you are. You are afraid of this short person that you are. You are shy of it, and not in a good way, because it bothers you. You either find yourself putting on high heels, probably inches higher, for you to feel like, you're also among the category of, quote and say, normal height. And if this person was tall, then you'll find that they'll start walking with their shoulders bent, like this. Reason being, they want to feel normal height, which again, I don't even know what normal height is, according to you. When do we talk of guilt? Guilt is when you did something and you're taken on a guilt trip. That's why it's called on a guilt trip. You're taken through a road or through a journey or through a process or any situation that would have happened. You are reminded of how wrong that was, however good it was. But you're reminded of how wrong that is to the point that you start questioning what you did. Let's say in African setup, you're not supposed to call your parents by name. If your parent's name was Dorothy, then you said, Dorothy. Of course it's disrespect, but you are not reprimanded in a loving way. Instead, you are reprimanded, being told of how indisciplined that is, being told of how rude you are, being told of how an ungrateful child you are, being called names. And these names, when a child is called these names, they don't easily go. So let me today pick up on a woman when we're talking about guilt and shame. So guilt is stored right here, just below your navel button. Shame is stored here, right above your navel button. Do you know why? Sorry. Shame is stored right above your navel button, and guilt is stored right below your navel button, around your reproductive area. When a woman suffers guilt and shame, that woman automatically has issues to do with hormonal imbalance. Because anywhere that is touching, that is below your navel button, that is touching your genesis, because that is the genesis of everything. Your womb as a woman is there. So when the area that is surrounding your womb is constantly on the lookout, then trust me, there's nothing that you can do with your womb. It becomes scared, it becomes cold. And yes, with a lot of guilt stored, there are possibilities of even miscarrying as a woman. And matters reproductive health, anything that is affecting a woman's reproductive health, guilt is an emotion that when repressed over time, it can turn lethal. Because guilt thrives with cortisol. And cortisol is an emotion. Cortisol is a stress hormone, amongst other stress hormones, which are acidic in nature. Let's come to shame. That is slightly above your navel button. You'll always realize that when you're walking on the streets, and of course, by the time you're suffering shame, it means you have issues to do with your self-esteem, your self-love, your self-acceptance, self-identification, and all that. It feels like, that is not you. Now, assume walking along the road, along the street, normal way, and then somebody looks at you. The very first thing that goes through your head is, what is he looking at? Did I dress well? Did I? What did he see? You see, this is about you. Then your heart starts racing. Then you start catching butterflies. Not the kind of normal good butterflies when you meet your crush. These are the butterflies that get you off guard. Literally throws you off the balance. Because for a moment you feel like something is wrong with me. Why is that person looking at me like that? You are in your office and your boss happens to pass by and come towards you. You start shivering because you don't know. You're constantly afraid. And most of people that suffer guilt and shame, they have one thing in common. Their foundation is always that foundation of fear. And any woman suffering from guilt can never enjoy sexual life because it is located at the base, the genesis where your womb is. Your sex life becomes as dead as your cold womb. People pleasers, guilt. What will they think about you? What if she doesn't talk to me? What if he doesn't appreciate me? What if?